Doota-tron, can you do a quick crew check? Yes, Brendan. Frank. Present. Brendan. Here. Captain Marty.
Here.
Oh, wait, no, it's Chief. It's Chief, because it was
Chief Scientist.
Chief Marty.
Here.
Chief Marty.
And then, what was the line? It's, comms are good, launch into an episode of the Hammerband Project.
Oh,
did that work?
Wow, that
He
was
got
super
there.
smooth.
Yeah, that was not rehearsed at all. It was rehearsed just the wrong amount. Less
Slightly
and it's
too much.
fresh. It's
Yeah,
new. It's
that's
good.
it, like-
Too much and it's too clinical,
It's
but you
true.
actually know what you're doing. That
Yeah.
was in that really horrible middle spot.
Yeah, excellent.
It's just an allegory for your life, isn't it, Brendan?
Josh, tell us what we're doing.
This episode of the Hammerband Project is called How Good is the Everything?
Okay, so we got to be speedy, guys. We got to be speedy. Welcome. Thank you very much. This is the Hammerband Project. We talk about Bluey. It's an Australian children's television program. We all really love it. And Marty will kill me if I prattle on too much this time because
Come
Frank.
This episode of Bluey is called... I'm going to make you wait for it. Space!
Yes!
I think this is pretty much the reason I moved back to Adelaide. Wasn't
Yeah.
it? You were like, hey, Marty,
He
he
wanted
wanted
to be in the
space,
room
and
for
you were
this.
like, and then I was off buying tickets to come back.
I will
so
just
could
point
do this
out,
episode.
as we start looking at the clock now, we only have 8.5 hours of recording
Yeah,
time left
ooh.
on the SD card. So
Maybe we'll
let's,
just, maybe
Do
we'll
you
just
have
change
another
it over
SD
now.
card?
Chop, chop.
It's like hour and a half of chatting everyone about,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do
Volume
that.
1 of no. I've been playing it up for a long time, but I do really like this episode.
Yeah.
I've just been leaning into the fact that I desperately want you guys to do this one. So
yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are. Well, there is a little bit of housekeeping that I wanted to do. Get it out of the way, so we can get straight
Emergency
into
exits over
Marty.
here.
Yeah.
Please exit over the window.
No, I know that I'm very guilty of.
Light and whistle for attracting attention.
No. We're already doing it. No, okay. So what I'm thinking is, I often mention other episodes, and I get hit with a roll-up newspaper or magazine or whatever it is. And Frank, we introduced the Roadcaster a while back.
Yes.
The little Doota-tron on which we record these episodes.
That's what I'm going to call it from now on.
The Doota-tron. Frank's on the
That's awesome.
Doota-tron, and I just thought, it's been going to waste. And I just thought, guys, we're fresh into 2023. We're just off the back of our 50th episode. This is episode 51. This is the second half of the 100. We've got we may as well just get it going, get something new. And so I've got a little bit of accompaniment on the board there for you, Frank. Do you want to hit that first one up the top if you need to happen to get a magazine ready? Top left.
Top left, so
Yeah,
the red one.
the red one.
So I should clarify, neither Marty or I know what is about to happen here.
No.
Brendan has queued up these sounds, and he's actually...
And I did it on a Macintosh, I'll have you know. So I'm quite proud of myself.
So
we
red
go.
button.
This is
Here
if
we
you
go.
have to get us, if you have to get it ready.
So isn't that like in that other episode where
Is this guys
This
get
is a
that
rolling
ready?
up
Is that
newspaper.
rolling?
Very
Okay.
good.
And,
Sure.
and a little bit of behind the scenes. That is literally a brochure that I got from Bunnings. So, and this is me hitting myself with it.
Which one?
One down. So I thought that one was good because it had a little bit of a slap to it.
Yep.
And it was
Yeah,
like
I
a kind
like
of
it.
like a loose kind of whap. Whereas
Good
this one,
Foley.
the blue one's more of a whack. It's like
yeah. I
really
that
like
one.
you're
Yeah,
getting
that's
an
solid.
insect.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of got a bit carried away, and I thought Marty would like this purple one
Yeah.
because that's a full. Can you tell me what that
It's
is?
the Terminator.
That's the T2 sound.
It's the T2 subject.
I was editing it together. I just went, I could make the T2 sound again. I'm so glad you got
The
that.
way that Brendan knocks on doors. Yes.
And this is a special one for you. It's funny because these other ones, I'll let you figure out what, but you can find a use for these ones. The yellow one.
Yes.
What? Try again.
Yes.
Try the other one, then you'll get it.
The green one.
No.
So I just love the fact that me putting those on there is an example of me incurring the other ones that I put on
exactly.
there.
So now you have to press
now
the
you have
second
to-
button
yeah,
down.
Just like,
Or maybe the third one on the left side.
I deserve that. I deserve that.
Oh, wow.
Fish
Yikes.
wag.
There's so much responsibility and power in front of me now. Like-
Just use them unwisely. But yes, that's the
Right.
housekeeping done and dusted.
Okay.
Very important. But look, we should get right into it because there's I know this man sitting to my right has got.
So I was
a lot
thinking
to
about
say.
this, and before we get into your space bones,
Space bones.
this is either going to be the most Marty-centric episode ever, and he's the only voice you're going to hear, or it's going to be a bit of a Simpsons hit and run scenario. I'm pretty sure you were here for this, Brendan.
Right.
We were playing. Yeah, Marty knows. Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was our mutual friend Luke.
It was
but
Luke.
It was Luke. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
we're playing Simpsons Hit and Run, which back in the original Xbox days was the predominant, the masterpiece 3-dimensional recreation of the entire Simpsons, all of Springfield.
I love that game.
Yeah, right. What an amazing game! You got to drive, point A to point B, and me and Luke, as it was, had been playing it for hours and hours. Marty comes in and he's just going, "Look at this! Look at that!" And he's marveling at all the different Simpsons landmarks you would go past. And this, how good is? And he didn't know what to say. He got
this is
so
the
caught
origin of
up.
this.
That's right. He got so caught up in what he was looking at. He just went, "How good is the everything?
How good is the
How
everything?
good?" And it's a phrase that Luke and I use still very often to this day. So I'm a
didn't
little
know
worried.
that was the
That's the originals
oh,
of
wow.
it. And I'm a little worried that when we talk about space, Marty might just how good is space, guys?
Sentences, because I can't actually coherently say the things about it's the goodest.
I can't wait to see what happens.
So Marty,
Yes.
would you care to take us through the bare bones of the goodest episode?
Actually, no. This really, you're going to consider the rest of this episode of the podcast to be my bare bones because there's so many different references that I'm going to be making. And actually, I think a lot of them are actually coherent potential influences on this episode. So I just had to pick something completely ridiculous. So, okay, now put in the sound effect, Brendan. Okay, so this episode is a pretty clear homage to the 1986 film Flight of the Navigator.
Yeah, boy.
So the story of a navigator, a young boy flying off in a ship. No, it's not. It's so many other references to things, though.
I was like, oh my God, I have to go and watch Flight of the Navigator again. I know so much about that movie, but this movie references so many I don't know anything about.
No, I'm going to, throughout this episode, I'm going to be referencing things like 2001 Space Odyssey and Interstellar, and I'm even going to dip into Neon Genesis Evangelion and other anime sort of shows and stuff like that. This is the most anime bluey episode, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to argue for that.
Wow.
But anyway, what is this episode actually about? This is largely about Mackenzie, Jack, and Rusty, who are going out and playing in a ship. They're spaceship people.
Yeah.
They're a captain, a navigator, and a chief scientist. And really, it becomes a vehicle.
That's 3.
That's 3 now.
Wow.
For Mackenzie to unpack some trauma, basically. I think once again we owe it to the Got to Be Done ladies who quizzed,
Amen, brother.
who quizzed Joe on like where this episode came from, and in their recent episode where they went through a whole bunch of season 3 stuff. I think he was talking about it coming from this image that he saw about these 3 boys just playing this game, but sort of it had an extra layer of sort of the image seems to show an extra layer of meaning, and that sort of took it from that. And just also reading about dealing with trauma through play.
Yeah.
Which we've got hints at. Don't press the button in some of the other, or you can roll it up. In one of the other episodes, there's this thing of working through trauma or working through bad things that happen through play, like replaying something.
Yeah.
But and one of the other things I think he mentioned was the fact that his daughter just doesn't get the episode. And there's a bunch of people who are just like, I don't get this ever. I'm like, no, Joe, this is my absolute favorite episode.
If for no one else, Joe, for Marty. Thank you.
You spoke directly to my heart.
But for me as well. I should make that clear.
And look, to that point, there are plenty, when this episode aired, so many people in the Bluey, in the Reddits and Twitter and all that going, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then you read people's various explanations, and none of them were really wrong. There is no wrong answer, I felt, in terms of the way the answers these people were giving.
And I think in that Got to Be Done ep. I'm pretty sure these are Joe's words, so I can say them. I think he said that straight away. My daughter just said, "Oh, I hate that one." I think that's
direct quote,
verbatim.
everyone.
So Joe's words, and he just said, and I think he said, "But I didn't care. I loved it." So and like that's awesome. This guy is. It cares about the story and how
it's also one of those episodes that doesn't feature the healers very much. So as far as kids' response to it, they're going to look at it and go, "I'm watching a show called Bluey. Where's Bluey?"
I'm in this show for the universe, man.
I've actually got here the thing that I wrote just after I saw Space. So I wrote it on our chat. I'm just like, Space, I can't even.
Yeah.
Frank, you replied, you're like, it's like they keep upping the ante and trying to make us cry. To which I was smart, because basically this is the story. I was on the bus. I wouldn't usually watch it on the bus, but I was just kind of like, I'll watch the new episode. I watched the episode, then got off the bus as an entirely different person. I mean, I'm vibrating between a state of being profoundly healed and irrecoverably broken.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it just got me in the soul. This one.
It's,
we'll get to the latter quarter, third, whatever it is. In a bit.
Well, can I say the thing that jumps out to me most, and you mentioned like in Joe's interview with Gotta Be Done, he said, play therapy and how kids can get stuck in things.
Yeah.
And so if we can get to the specifics of the episode and what that kind of said to me, like when you spend time around kids and you see them, they do get stuck in these cycles.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it's like they're having an experience, but they don't know, they haven't got the tools to have an experience yet. And so what that means and everything, like the thing that I can think of, and I'm sure Erin wouldn't mind me telling the story. It's nothing traumatic or anything like that. It was just something that Erin was backing out of the driveway and she looked around and she saw my car and just went, because I'd parked in a different spot.
Yeah,
she didn't hit it or anything.
Yeah,
she was nowhere near it. And she went, "Oh," and adjusted her steering. And Nora was in the back and she said, "What, Mum? What?" It's like, "Oh, nothing." And she said, "Why did you say ooh?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I nearly hit Uncle Brenny's Droopy." And of course she didn't.
Yeah.
And she lived to regret wording it in that fashion because for weeks Nora would be like, "Hey, Mum, remember how you nearly hit Uncle Brennan's Droopy?" And she's like, "You keep saying that, it's going to get me in trouble with Uncle Brennan." She had to nip it in the bud and say, "Brendan, I did not nearly hit your car.
Yeah.
I just said, oh, look, I nearly hit."
There it is. Yeah.
And
she's
she
just
would
not
just
telling
like,
you about that other time that she nearly hit your car.
"Oh, right. It was another time."
Yeah, that's right.
Aaron. No, but it's that thing of that entered her brain and that meant something to her and she was processing that, but she doesn't really understand an experience like an adult would.
Yeah.
And they just get that. She just kept bringing it up even though for a long time. And it was just really interesting to see the brains work like that and just trying to process things.
One of the things for Naomi that was quite interesting that came up, and we think it came from a dream and potentially a reoccurring dream, is the idea of like the digger's going to come to our house.
Right.
And knock it down.
Okay.
So we've seen some films, all those in Canto where the house falls down. Sorry, spoilers.
I just watched that the other day.
So there's films in which she's seen that sort of stuff happening. Where we were living in Sydney, there was a lot of construction going on, and we'd always go and see the diggers because they're free entertainment, guys. Right, they're good fun.
Dig.
But at some point she got really concerned that the diggers were going to come and break down our 7th-story apartment.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see that reappear, and she was just kind of like, but the digger's not going to come, right? So very much in the same vein of like, I don't know how to process this thing because it kind of came up in a dream and it felt very real.
Knowing kids kind of helps me not take all the things I've learned for granted. That sounds so silly, but you see that and I just go, oh yeah, I can deal with things because I'm standing on the shoulders of my previous self. And there's all these things we just brains and people and consciousness is pretty incredible. And you get to see the kids doing it for the first time. You're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember doing that. Kind of remember getting better at this.
Yeah.
And you get a reminder that you've come so far. I don't know.
A bit of a real life for me for that sort of thing was we would drive to Melbourne an awful lot with my family because Mum and Dad are originally from Melbourne. So Melbourne to Adelaide, it's about 900 kilometre, 9-hour journey. And around about 10 years old, I suddenly became fixated on this concept of running out of petrol and being just in the middle of
Right,
nowhere.
wow.
And I was always to the point where my 2-year younger sister would just be like, "Oh, just calm down. Like, it's okay. Dad knows how far away the next town is, and we're not going to run out." And I was just like, "Oh, should we fill up at this town? Or should we fill up at the next town? How much?"
Yeah,
And,
wow.
And I don't really know what triggered that. My best guess is there was some movie or something I saw where that happened. You know, they run out of petrol in the middle of nowhere. And then I hadn't thought about it in years until I recently got my electric car, which is almost the same kind of thing in that, you know, I can't just go to any petrol station, and it just sort of reoccurred, and
all of a sudden much more selective.
That's right. And I said to Ali, I was like, I could feel it coming. I said, I've got this what I call range anxiety, because it comes up as a range distance on the car. And I said, I was like, I know in my brain that it is only, say, 5 kilometers to where we need to go.
Yeah.
And the car saying it's got 50 kilometers there, but I need to plug the car in at our next convenience type
See,
thing.
you needed a calypso when you were little
to
help you get out of that loop, and then it wouldn't revisit you when you're in your 40s.
All right. Should we go from the top?
Oh, yeah, please
Let's
do.
go from the top. We've done our usual thing. We've gone through a little bit of conceptual, but I love the...
Should we go from the top?
Let's go from the... Like, there's established shot. They're walking away from the schoolhouse sort of room. It starts to have the feel of Army as well, because it's like the boys heading out. I was thinking today, I think I said for Army, it feels a little bit like It and like that Stephen King sort of style.
And Stand By Me.
Like, that's it. We're going out into nature and we're boys and we're going to find out something about like, growing up.
And how far has Jack come as well?
Man.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, 100%.
He's the storyteller.
Right.
He's so good. I just love the way that they're doing their patter as they slowly walk out, and then they're getting in and they're having this conversation while they're doing all the checks.
Oh boy,
it's so nice. They're like checking the steering wheel, flicking the switches, they're not even breaking conversation or anything. It's just all part of the game. It's what you do. But I also love I think it starts there, but there's various moments throughout that have that sense of vastness.
Yeah.
Very much like Interstellar. It has all those sort of wide fields of grass and things like that sort of complement the outer space bits where things are just vast and huge. So, you know, for me, that's kind of like there's some references there. I feel it's like that idea of going into this wide exterior space where you could run out of petrol.
And they can do that at the school whenever they like. Like for Army, they did it. All of a sudden, the school is just the wilderness. This vastness.
It's huge.
They're in the middle of absolute nowhere. They decide that they're going to be the the captain. Yeah. And Jack gets to be the navigator because he knows most about space.
Because he knows the most about space.
Which is awesome. And then, you know, Mackenzie gets looped in as the chief scientist.
The chief scientist. Oh, what's that? What does the chief scientist do?
You get to figure things out. And then
fix things, And
then you just get that. You start to get the musical themes coming in. Which is very much, once again, like the Interstellar theme that comes through over and over again, of the ticking clock, which is throughout the whole thing. They use it for pacing, use it for a whole bunch of other stuff. But I will interject myself. Have we gotten into the monologue yet, guys? But this for me is for real life, because after Naomi saw this episode, and I made her watch it as many times as she makes me watch things.
You get one back.
Yeah, exactly. We played endless rounds of, Snowy's the navigator, Daddy, you're the captain, and Naomi is the Mackenzie.
Naomi's the Mackenzie.
The Mackenzie. And there was a whole thing of you get stuck in the black hole and you have to be pulled out. So that was a game we played over and over again.
Nice.
But so that role capturing thing, that kind of speaks to people as well. Do you guys have anything, or should I just...
You just keep on going, my friend.
No, did anyone see the chicken?
There's a chicken!
There's a chicken in the establishing shot as they walk away from the school. I think it's a couple of the terriers are walking and there's this sort of chicken. They're just following a chicken.
Okay.
Such a terrier thing.
Does that change your theories, Marty?
Probably. Chickens exist in the Bluey universe, everyone.
Actually,
Is this the first? Well, we had established that birds were birds.
Birds were birds. That's
Yes.
right. Yeah,
That's all. That's about as far as we've got.
One thing I will say, and you might speak to this, Marty, but like, there's those little clues that that there's something happening with
in
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie's mind,
He gets those little pensive looks, and I love the fact you mentioned about how far has Jack come. Jack is the one who clues in pretty quick that something's not right with Mackenzie,
so true,
and he really tries to work that into the narrative he's weaving, which I felt was really cool. This is the kid who lacked confidence. His little sibling was pushing him around and stuff, and now he's the one who's
playing two characters as well.
What? Yeah, exactly.
Doota-tron,
and yeah, and I really love that where he's just sort of like Rusty is taking everything on face value.
Yeah.
You know, not again, that sort of stuff.
That's it.
Yeah.
Whereas
This doesn't make any sense. You're crazy.
That's right. And whereas Jack's going, there's something happening here. He may not fully understand it, but he's trying to bring Mackenzie back in and work it out through the play.
And I didn't fully understand it when you're watching it because it is that slow, mysterious reveal, and it feels so sci-fi. It feels like thriller sci-fi.
So true.
It feels like I can remember what it felt like the first time I watched Interstellar, or and I haven't watched all of the other ones that I'm sure it's referencing, but it feels like that kind of, you're piecing it together and it's weird. There's this weirdness.
Yeah. I guess you could also like Solaris by Stanislav Lem. So there's various different versions of that, but that's also got that very weird science fiction vibe.
And it's that weirdness that draws you into the mystery. And
why are people behaving in weird ways?
Yes.
And even the way it's laid out, like the shots, like it goes from this and then it cuts to Mackenzie's under the thing fixing something, Mackenzie's standing on the thing. I think Jack's under something, and then Rusty's doing push-ups in the background.
He's doing his little army man / taekwondo thing in the background.
He's doing push-ups, and then he turns into karate.
And then he does the bow.
And then he does the bow with it.
So two things about that. A, hilarious. B, I love the fact that it's this weird little scene where something's happening. It felt like Star Wars to me, where they're in different parts of the Millennium Falcon, and a little conversation's happening here about what it felt like. And Interstellar, you kind of feel like you're part of that trip. You feel like
you're
there's
an
some
extra passenger.
Yeah, there's some sense of the journey when they're on that ship, because little sub conversations are coming. I don't know how they gave me the essence of that in this 7-minute episode with everything else going on, but it felt that kind of sci-fi journey posse story.
Totally. Yeah. I think we've even skipped over like the first thing that happens. They're called asteroids.
Yeah.
Do you know why they're called asteroids and not
Please, I was going to look it up, but I didn't because I knew I would be podcasting with Marty.
I didn't either because I thought it was something Brendan would know.
Yeah, right? This is why we never learn any really good stuff, because we just assume the other person is doing it for us.
Because you're the one who loves, what is it? The stars and something about space.
I love
Snickers.
I love
space,
machines, atoms, and the stars.
Yeah, that should be you.
Snickers, my boy.
I think it's got something to do with the fact that they're one thing in space, one thing in the atmosphere, and one thing when they hit the ground. There's meteorite, meteor, and asteroid. Anyway,
nice. Little factoid. I love that stuff. Oh, I'd love to pay you out for knowing that, but I love it.
We've got Doota-tron as well, who we should actually talk about as, like, HAL 2000 or...
What's the name of the... I'm
Robbie
making
the
actions
Robot,
because I'm really good at podcasting. No, that incredible design robot from Interstellar. That was like my favorite thing about the movie. The design of those robots.
Yeah, there's a good video where who's the head guy from Mythbusters talking about how he also Adam Savage, thank you. Talking about how he thinks that's actually a great robot design because it's not anthropomorphic.
Yeah.
Because it's got gear, ambulance that's
I have a workshop apron designed and signed by Adam Savage. Do go on.
Very good. So we've passed the Brendan has stuff part of the podcast, and into
Martin? And have we?
And
There's still
into the Marty says intelligent things part of the podcast.
No. Yes. Have we passed it?
No.
This is going to be great.
So we have a couple of scenarios in which Mackenzie is whisked away and he's sort
Yeah.
of taken away. One of the things I think is really interesting. So the first time he gets, he's fixing the boosters
Yep.
and ends up down by the tree in shadow.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, come back. And the second time he's down that little ditch
Yeah.
in shadow.
Oh.
So the way that the lighting works across
boy.
those sequences is, and the first one's a little bit of a like, he was making the play a bit more exciting by coming up with a foil to go in this situation.
Something
By
like
the
that.
second one, it's a really interesting exchange because as you were referring to before, Rusty doesn't get it. He's kind of the guy who's...
He just wants aliens.
So it's like, he just wants aliens. He doesn't understand what's going through it. As you say, Jack's far more into it. But the thing that gets me the most about that sequence is the real emotions of Mackenzie and in the voice acting.
Yeah.
It's like he is really feeling like they left him behind.
Yeah.
And, we talk about parenting things on this one. And one of the things that surprised me the most about being a parent is when you're with your child and your parent and they say something to your child and you feel that the same way that you would have as a 5-year-old.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's
Example?
amazing. So, you're just like, my dad will say something to Naomi like, don't touch that, or just, be careful with that thing, or whatever it is. And you just feel this sharp sensation.
Wow.
So it's very much in the same, like the way you react to it, all of a sudden you are a kid again.
Yeah.
And that's probably the thing that surprised me the most about being a parent is just having that sensation come across with such strength and sharpness. It's an amazing thing to experience. And you realize how, once again, like, Frank was saying, how long you've been holding on to things and it's still there.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the other interesting things about Mackenzie, and maybe why people didn't get the episode, is because it feels like, and we're starting to each into the end of this episode, but it feels like such a small thing. Why are you fixating on that? It wasn't a problem.
It wasn't a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal. So I think there's something to us as individuals that resonates with.
Yeah.
That like you were saying with Nora, there was something about almost hitting the car.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden she realized that cars can touch one another.
Yeah,
can, impact one another. And that opened up a whole Pandora's box of other things that could go wrong or something like that.
Yeah.
So these become the moments that kind of make us as individuals a bit, or, there's some part of that that's,
she was probably
forms
just
who we
looking
are.
for something to say.
True. Fair enough.
I was being silly.
But,
no, but a couple of things when you said in the voice acting, and I think that touches on something because I don't have anything like that to compare it to. I'm not a dad. I should put something like that. Like,
you really
I
should.
forgot the bing. Am I a dad?
Yes.
He's still learning. But no, like, I don't have anything like that to compare it to. But something about when your parent says something and it sends you back in time. Like, have I talked about this on the podcast before? Like, whenever I hear my parents reading to one of my nibblings,
Okay. I don't think you've mentioned it, but I'm
like
with you on this.
when you hear this is a cadence and a quality of voice and a persona that they take on that I hadn't heard since I was 5.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're reading, and my mum, all of a sudden I heard her. It was when my eldest nibbling, Kaylee, probably would have been 4 or 5, if that. And I was round at the house or something, and mum started reading a book. And all of a sudden, I was in bed hugging my teddy, and that quality of her voice. When you start reading a kid's book, they take on this whole other thing, and you forget how well you remember it. You forget how much a part of you your parents' voices and what they say to you become. And so, like, when your parent would say something to your child, Marty, like, oh, don't do this or don't do that, like, you forget how much a part of your personality came from those lessons. And then just orally, the sound is so incredible how it can elicit memory and bonkers. And the other thing I was going to say is, like, it does seem like a little small thing, but how beautiful is this show and how caring of this show to devote an episode to something small that might have happened to kid, you know?
Yeah, impact
like
them.
the world
Yeah.
needs more of that, you know? The Mackenzie is a person, and yeah, it's a small thing, but the fact that
It's a big thing because it means something to him.
and
Yeah.
in the same way that Calypso is so amazing because she will extend that care to any one of her students. This show is brilliant because it will extend that care to one of its characters. Just A+.
Yes.
See, I love it. I knew it was a good idea.
Well, we've probably skirted around it for long enough, haven't we? Is it time to get to
How cool are slides?
how cool are
Slide, what?
the end part of this episode?
Oof.
All right, okay, you ready? Limbering up.
All right, go for it, Marty. It's your time to shine.
Well, once again, it's interstellar, really, isn't it?
Yep.
We're going into the black hole, which is this point beyond existence. It's a non-explainable thing.
Although
does-
Jack does
does-
a pretty good job.
Does the
Yeah,
black
exactly. No, he does. You're right.
Yeah.
It's better than most science. What is it? It's a star
I think
that
it's
got
a
really
star that got really small
I
and
think.
then ate things, I think.
Yeah.
but does it have aliens?
No. Neither does Mars.
There you go. Thank you. That's what it was.
Such a great line. He's so exasperated by
Yeah.
that point. Just neither does Mars, Rusty. Come on, crying out
That
loud.
is the most Brendan he is in that episode, I think. I can just see Brendan getting tied up in that.
and then he makes the asteroid mistake again. He
Yeah,
says
that's
the
right.
meteorite
Asteroid.
mistake again. I'm just about to correct him. Then Jack jumps in. I'm like, yeah, you're my boy, Jack.
So does this not go back to our very first ever email from Sandy saying who's who in that picture? You're clearly Mackenzie Martin.
Yeah, okay, fair
That makes you Jack, and it makes me Rusty because I'm the dumb captain who would just say things
It's
incorrectly.
dumb. We figured it out.
Congrats, Sandy.
yeah,
We
there
got
you go,
there.
I
Sandy.
think that's true. I think that's 100%.
It took us this long, but we got there.
But I love that it's one of those pieces of play equipment. And this is
Yeah.
when we can bring in the for real life that Frank and I took Naomi and Jack to a park that had one of those tunnel through a mouth.
Oh,
Yes.
man.
And we were playing It's the Black Hole and let's go through the black
Let's
hole.
go to the
and-
black hole,
And
yep.
see if there's aliens on the other side.
And by
So-
aliens, we mean kids we didn't know coming from the other direction.
Yeah,
That
and then our
Naomi
kids-
and Jack just went, no, turn around. We're going this way.
Yeah.
Like-
Or just running off with those kids and you're kind of looking through this tunnel going, okay, they're a long way away now.
That's not that third one's not ours.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You're running over to the other mum going, is that how you get more kids? You just like collect other
Are
people's
you the
come along with
stork?
you. But
I have
so
so much to learn.
So we got this black hole. Mackenzie's, he's escaped. He's got out of hypersleep, which is very kind of
When they go into hypersleep.
hypersleep.
Can you put us into hypersleep? Sure. And they all just shut their eyes.
And that's kind of Planet of the Apes, the fact that they're all going. But, a whole bunch of mechanics. Anyway, going into the black hole, they have that whole conversation in front of the black hole of like, this is what I want to do. I have to go beyond this point of... It's in effect like walking into death, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's, there's the light at the end of the tunnel,
That's right.
all of those sorts of...
All the shots, all the way.
all of those
yeah.
shots.
Oh, man.
But, just the way that Rusty has that true sense of acceptance of, well, it's what he wants to play.
Oh, my.
It's what he's got to do.
word.
It's what he's got to do. It's a crazy, And
Oh.
Jack's still not quite sure about it, but Rusty is just like, no, it's what he needs to do, and he unties the thing. And the music throughout that whole thing. So it's
Yeah.
been building throughout the whole the dun, 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 and then it just plays out in a very mournful way in that whole
Yeah.
sequence. It just gets me.
Oh,
I
man.
was watching it today, and it was just giving me chills.
Oh, man.
And then actually, no, what was giving me chills is the next bit where we're going through the tunnel. We see Mackenzie walking towards the camera, and then we see the white light, so classic light at the end of the tunnel, which then transmutes into the psychedelic colors,
Yeah.
which is very end of 2001, where
Sure.
they're going through the I think it's like a hyperspace gate or something. It's meant to be.
Yeah,
a
of course.
simulation of-
Duh. Who haven't seen 2001?
exactly. Which then transmutes into the plastic slide, the tube slide.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Mackenzie at the end as a smaller version
Baby
of
Mackenzie.
himself. But-
Oh, wow.
And that shopping center, there's something incredibly artificial
Yeah.
about those sorts of spaces. It's like
Yeah.
the height of artificiality. And then within that, you've got that kid's playground, which is
Yeah.
just like another level on top of
Yep.
this weird space.
yeah.
But the thing that gets me more than anything else is the shadow people.
Yeah. The other dogs in the background.
Other dogs in the
Yeah.
background, which for me comes straight out of something like Spirited Away. In Spirited Away, there's a sequence where they're on the train, and it's kind of like they're in the spirit realm, but there are shadow people there going about their daily tasks. They're getting on and off the train. But that's what it feels like to a kid.
Absolutely,
there are people who are not
captured it.
important to your direct purpose. It's not your parents, not your friend, but there are other people in the world. They're kind of a little bit threatening because they're kind of large and they're doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just outside of the memory. You know, in this, it's outside of the memory boundary. And he's going, Mom, we don't know where Mom is.
And there's a little bit of reverb.
There's a little bit of reverb in there.
Yeah.
And I think maybe why this hit me so badly is I can remember getting lost.
Yeah, me too, man.
Center.
And that's what it looked and felt like.
100%. Like the fuzziness, the way that...
Yeah.
Because I can remember I was with my grandfather, with my dad's dad, probably didn't know how carefully he needed to watch me for when I would just like dart off in a different direction to look at something colorful. Yeah. Anyway, I remember being kind of approached by some old ladies and just being in the shopping center, and then, you know, it probably was all of 30 seconds, 40 seconds.
It feels like forever.
But I can remember it now. Now I'm a 36-year-old telling a story of when I was probably about 4. So
You're only
for
36.
me, that hit home very much, like solid. I'm like, okay, 100% capture that. That whole transition between those sci-fi elements into this memory space and this construct space as well. I think so. I said I was going to bring up Neon Genesis Evangelion, and I'm saying that this is the most anime episode of Bluey ever. I do wonder whether the people on the in the Ludo team, like whether animators watch broadly and then they get absorb these sorts of things, because I already mentioned Spirited Away, but Hideaki Anno, who does Neon Genesis Evangelion, he's got a lot of very cerebral stuff, and there's a sequence in one of his films, End of Evangelion, where there's a kid just playing at a playground, and it is the character inside themselves trying to work with their trauma. And it's like building up a sandcastle and knocking it down and doing that again. And the way that it's presented is very similar, this sort of grainy aesthetic, those sorts of things. So it's just interesting if, you know, they haven't seen it, or whoever sort of, you know, laid out that sequence hasn't seen it. It's interesting that they got to the same place. In presenting that and like dealing with these things. One of the other things that really gets me is when I first saw this, I didn't know if something horrible had happened to Mackenzie's mum. I couldn't remember. I think at that point I hadn't seen another episode.
Sure.
So I was like, oh no, is this an absolutely terrible moment for him that we're now replaying? Because this was, I think this was shortly after, or you can roll up that newspaper. Thank you. We had, what was it? The one with Brandy in it. So I was just onesies. So like, I'm all ready for this thing to just like go supernova, go long. But yeah, so that's me breaking down that sequence.
Sure.
Feel free to comment. Do you have any?
The man in the white jumper is my comment. That was a phrase that became known in my family because when I got lost. And that's all I could remember about my dad. I knew he was wearing a white jumper.
Oh, wow.
So I told the people the man in the white jumper. And then if you said that to my mum, she'd know exactly what I was talking about. It was just he was the man in the white jumper. And I can remember I've got this vision of Dad finding me. Yeah. And he had this white knit on. And I'm just like, to this day, every time I see like a nice cable knit white jumper, I just think of that time that I got lost. I'm stuck in one of those things too, baby.
I think of Test cricket, but that's just my for real life. As far as the getting lost, look, I probably did as a kid. It didn't stick with me for whatever reason, but one I do remember was I had, funnily enough, cricket training after school. Dad was supposed to come get me, and 2 hours after he was supposed to be. And so there was this thing where I'd sort of, and this is
Simpsons episode.
Well, pre-mobile phone. Well, not the dog from Futurama, not that bad.
No, different.
But yeah, this is in a pre-mobile phone era, so I couldn't just...
Futurama's about space. Sorry, go on.
Stop. Damn it, wrong button again.
You'll get there.
Yeah, pre-mobile phone, so I couldn't just ring up Dad and go, oi, you forgetting something? And then there was that thing where as the school was slowly emptying out, it was getting to past 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it was starting to get dark. And then obviously eventually mum sort of realised and just went, forgetting something and sent him off to come get me.
In our Explorers episode, don't hit the button. We already talked about Explorers. That feeling of being the last one as people are slowly leaving. But this takes it to the next level. Like everyone's already gone and it's getting a bit scary now.
They're taking you back to the school office because
a couple of the staff had said, "Are you right?" And I was like, and I sort of played it tough as a little like 10-year-old, 12-year-old, whatever I was. Oh, I'm fine, just waiting for Dad. And then he came and he was very apologetic. Of course, I never let him forget about it. Whenever the topic of running late or whatever comes up, I was like, "Oh, like that time you forgot to pick me up from cricket training. Thanks, Dad."
Now he's stuck in that loop.
That's it. Okay, Calypso appearing. How did you guys read that? Because I think this is one of the things from remembering a conversation I had with you, Frank, of like what confused people the most who were watching the episodes. Just like, what was that last bit? What was happening? So what did you take that to be?
I took that to be because, Calypso, as we know, is this wonderful teaching figure and would still very much be a part of Mackenzie's life now at the school. I think it's pretty clear to me anyway that she wasn't in that shopping centre when this happened. So it's not a reenactment of something, and she's basically
a manifestation.
That's the one. She's pointing out. He's got you don't have to come back here anymore. It's been dealt with.
And it's so charming that he's chosen Calypso.
That
representation
100%.
of, and we haven't actually touched upon it. We referred to it earlier. Just like my mum left me behind, having that moment of thinking, hey, I could get left behind. Maybe that hasn't ever occurred to him before. But it's like, no, it's fine. She's just over there.
You just got turned around.
In the slide.
Yeah.
And she's like, hey.
She's so like, Mackenzie,
I'm over here. But is that really, I think there were some people who were like, was she actually there for that moment?
Right.
Was she and for me, that's very anime as well, or at least the reason why I felt like I got very quickly to that endpoint is like, oh yeah, she's a manifestation of his desire to have somebody as a teaching,
because you're a big old nerd. And you've been through this before.
100%. So that whole thing of you don't need to come back to this place, and that sort of looping into the transition out to the fairy aliens.
Yeah, how good.
And
play with us.
Can't play with that. Like, I love the idea that, like, yes, that is 100%. Boys would not want to go out to play fairies.
And everything about that other side of the tunnel is all like pastel colors.
It's
super bright.
That's it. It's just like, come with us. No. And the Rusty bursts in and they're pulling on the rope and they're coming out the other way and like he's rescued and they come back and it's like, they're aliens. No way. And then my favorite line, and it's starting when it's starting to pan out, fade out. Their wings were weird. I love the total inclination on that line. And they're so excited. There's so much tail wagging. And then, of course, we have the last crew check.
Just take me now. God.
And he's just looking off to the black hole and going, I'm here. I am beyond this now. I'm back.
There's a little pause, but there's
and that's the thing. The pause is what got me. You mentioned the music many times, which is wonderful. And is that moment where the music just stops, waiting for Mackenzie's answer to the question. Chief scientist, and then it's just silence. You're looking at Mackenzie. Here, and then bang, it kicks back in. Like, wonderful.
And it really is that sense of, I think you get to share in his catharsis. Like, and I think that's why, I had my phrase from the start of like irrevocably broken. The sense that people can feel these things. Like, he was obviously in so much hurt from this thing that he'd been carrying, and like the nature of us as humans, like, that got me so badly. And the fact that he'd managed to move past it and have this cathartic moment, going to this other place and having this experience and being able to move on from it, and going with his life as a space adventurer, chief scientist. So like, that got me, and I think that's the experience I had on the bus that day watching that episode.
I think the other thing is, as a parent, Mackenzie's mum in that moment probably has never given that moment a second thought. And so now, as parents ourselves, when watching that, you go, oh crap, what about that time where, Jack fell over and said he hurt his knee, and I just went, you're fine. Like, was that a space moment? Do you know what I mean? Is that something that years from now is going to come back in whatever form it takes? Like it's quite daunting as a parent because you sort of sit there and go, well, anything could be a moment. Just because it wasn't a moment to me doesn't mean it's not something that's going to resonate with them. There's a real fear factor as a parent in that sort of thinking.
Yeah, fair. I take that on board, and I guess I come at it from the other point of just kind of like, you're never going to know what's going to be the thing.
True.
So I guess you can't.
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh man, I can't put that on myself.
Yeah.
So at the same time.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Oh, tell me about it.
No.
Kids, huh?
No.
You got the right button.
I got it down.
Martin, my hat's off to you, my friend. You've
Your
had
space
those.
helmet?
You have had those notes burning a hole in your pocket ever since that episode came out.
I really have.
He's been behaving himself very well every week. Can we
Yeah.
do space? Can we do
In
space?
space.
Can we do space? Oh man,
Maybe we could do space.
I know you guys have got episodes that but maybe
Space.
Anyway,
but can we jump into a quick?
Checking our inbox.
Let's do that.
Doota-tron.
Do
check the inbox.
Doota-tron, check the inbox.
We need to re-record that intro noise for that segment now.
Doota-tron, check the inbox.
Oh, that's the new one. Oh, what do we got?
All right, so we've got a big old one here from Matthew.
Oh, Matt, you legend. I read this recently, and
He is from Houston in Texas. That's how Strong
I think-
Bad
I
would
think
say
that-
it.
in
That's-
Texas? Yeah, he would say that.
In the correct dialect, yes.
But don't mess with Texas.
Basically, he's loves the show, but he's saying he's a new dad. I think his youngest or only child is 2 months old, and he's finding fatherhood quite intimidating. But in hearing our stories and struggles and successes gives him a bit of hope. But he was looking for, look, as we have a good amount of experience in the whole parenting thing. In brackets, sorry, Brendan, I don't mean to leave you out.
I don't feel left out at all, dude. Matt, that was a beautiful email. We won't read the whole thing out,
No,
obviously,
that's
because
right.
it was very, very lovely, and that's between he and us. But what a gentleman.
Yes.
But in response to your question, I had a bit of a think about this one. And I think the thing that stuck out to me, because when I knew I was expecting, I kind of went around to talk to, like, whenever I'd ran into parents, I'm like, okay, parenting advice, what do you got?
What do you got?
The best one I had was like, whatever it is, it'll last for 2 weeks, which is
Not
a
bad.
really good, like,
Not
sometimes
bad. Yeah.
sometimes it's longer than 2 weeks, sometimes it's shorter than 2 weeks, but there'll be something where you're like, I don't think I can handle this if this
Yeah.
just keeps on going. Like,
Yeah.
they were like, they'll be waking up all the time, and there'll be something else, or they'll be sick, or there'll be something. There's
Yeah.
any old thing that, like, they'll want to just stand up, and you just kind of have to hold them by their hands so they can bounce up and down on their thighs, or whatever it is. And you're like, I don't think I can just keep on doing this,
Yeah.
but it's okay. There's only a season of it. And I think that's the most supportive sort of thing I can think is like, you won't have to deal with this forever. Things will change. But usually when people ask me for parenting advice, I just sort of say, I have nothing original to say about parenting. Everybody's kind of said these things before. Like, I think when you become a parent, you realize, oh, that's what they meant when they said all those things. It just sort of starts to resonate in a different way. So I think it's just giving yourself as much of a break as possible, like not expecting like too much from yourself and just getting through it. I think that's it. I went through, like, Naomi was born as we hit COVID.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting experience. Had both ups and downs. I was like at home all the time because I was working from home. But at the same time,
You're
I was
also
at home
all the time.
So, that made things interesting as well. But everybody's experience is going to be different. Don't think that. Don't buy into this people trying to sell you stuff. That's probably there's just so many opinions about parenting.
Yeah, I think the one that jumps out for me was our mutual friend Damo, who had kids, many years before I did. And I remember Damo's kids were at that stage where they were like, wanting to be carried all the time and, lifted physically, climbing all over him.
Thrown around.
Yeah, and I just looked at him. And to be fair, Damo is a pretty physical guy. He plays basketball, a lot of basketball and stuff. But I just remember looking at him and I could tell, even though he was, doing the right dad thing, the look on his face was just like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. and I, it was a quiet moment. The kids finally left him alone. I said, mate, how how do you do that? Like, is there not a point where you just want to just push them away and go, I'm done here? And he goes, you seen Jurassic Park? I'm like, yeah, of course I have. He just goes, dads find a way.
Nice.
And I'm
Nice
like,
one, Damo.
okay. And to your point, Marty, that it's similar to that 2 weeks thing, just that bit where you go, I'm about to hit my limit, and whether that's, because they're having too much fun, or because they're sick, or because there's tantrums, or because
they just won't fall asleep.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's that dad thing, and not just dad thing, in fairness, that parent thing, I should say, where you take a deep breath. Okay, let's try this again. Let's come at it from a different angle. Let's change out what we're doing. And I think it's just that it really pushes you to limits that you didn't know you had. And the important thing is to acknowledge that, to feel that coming. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. Both my wife and I have little tells where one of us will do something, and I'm just like, uh-oh, mum's about to crack it. And that door swings both ways, P.S., where she goes, all right, tag, you're out, I'm in, and you find a way.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, I mean, not a dad. Am I a dad?
No.
Thank you. No, but I did overhear some excellent advice once when a mutual friend of ours was having their first kid, and they asked someone we were with, hey, you got anything? And this guy, I'll never forget, he said, do something to connect with your partner, because it sounds like, Matthew, you say in your own words, you've got a wonderful wife. Glad to hear it. Congratulations on becoming a dad, by the way. And I guess the couple I live with, Aaron and Josh, if there's one word I'd use to describe them, it's team. They're just a team. Yep. Give yourself permission to connect with your wife, Matt. You guys are a team, and you owe it to your daughter to give her the best version of yourself. And the best version of yourself is the one who's happy and relaxed and getting what you need as well. So, like, I think that's what I took from that, enhance that team. And
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not a dad, so I have to disclaim. Am I a dad?
Are you a dad?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we got it. There was a quick one. It was a quick one from, I think it's Rivi.
Yes, Rivi.
Rivi is 11 and lives in Georgia in the USA, another place that I've been. A shout out to Brian and Harriet in Atlanta, who put me up overnight.
We know you're listening.
We know you're listening. You're legends. And I just want to say, Rivi was very complimentary of the podcast. They say they really like it, and that means a lot. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Rivi. But one particular bit, they said recap, and they spelt it correctly. They spelt it exactly right. So I just felt seen.
They also said that your puns aren't bad.
They aren't bad. You see, I'm gaining a following, guys.
Yeah, but that also means that I don't trust other things they're saying. So.
I do. Thank you very much, Rivi.
All right, and then this is a follow up to someone we've already shouted out previously. This is our friend Sarah, who mentioned about the reusable water balloons and how we sort of question that. Yeah, we weren't quite sure. And she goes, "Oh wow, thanks for mentioning me on the show. That made her really happy." She loves how Brenny talks about his US trip.
Exhibit B, Martin. Oh wait, this isn't the pun bit yet.
She's hoping to come to Australia at some point. But her question today is around about Vegemite. She managed to get her hands on a jar of Vegemite and is training myself to like it.
which is a fantastic concept.
It is.
I love that idea of training yourself to like Vegemite, wanting it badly enough.
Yeah, and she's started to Google ways to prepare a Vegemite sandwich and found there are lots of varying opinions and wanted to ask us as three
there's
Australians.
one right opinion and a whole bunch of wrong opinions. That's what it is.
Do tell.
Number one, I love that idea of training, because that's basically, as Australian children, we are trained from a young age to be able to endure Vegemite.
Jack loves it, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So does Naomi. But this also brings us to the most important thing about this. I think it says Vegemite sandwiches. No. No, it's on toast. And, like butter on toast.
Yeah.
And you put Vegemite on.
And I think...
Who are these insane people making Vegemite sandwiches? I'm sorry. They are not to be trusted.
I love a good Vegemite sandwich, but that's neither here nor there. I think the key... Marty's giving me dead stares right now. I think the key
bread
point...
to Vegemite ratio, Frank, is not good.
What do you mean?
That's too much bread
There's
much
not.
bread.
There's no such thing as too much bread in this house, mate.
That's true. I did live with you.
You should know bread is a
I
core
just open the
part.
cupboards. I'm like, is there anything apart from bread? I've got this rye loaf. That's bread.
But I think the advice I would give to Sarah is that it's got to be butter with the Vegemite, right?
And not a huge amount of Vegemite.
Exactly, and this is the thing. I think
it's a scraping of.
I think a lot of Americans are used to how they would do their peanut butter
Yeah,
PB&Js, for example. And
if you've been doing that, I can understand why you would need to train yourself.
nobody should have that much salt in one mouthful because that's largely what Vegemite is. But yeah, so it's little strokes of Vegemite through your butter on whether it's toast or bread or whatever.
I think we all agree on that one, don't
Yes.
we?
Well,
I think you got to have the butter.
I'm remaining very calm.
Oh dear. I think we've offended.
But let me
Brendan.
let me just set the scene. I'm very sorry that I'm not sure if it's Sarah or Sarah.
Fair call.
And so from this point on, Sarah or Sarah, sorry that I didn't get it right. You'll be referred to as the happy little Vegemite. Because let me just set the scene of the day when I saw the email and saw that you'd responded and that you are eating Vegemite. Because we are happy little Vegemites, as bright can be. We all enjoy our Vegemite for breakfast, lunch, and tea. Our mummy says we're growing stronger every single week because we love our Vegemite. We all adore our Vegemite. It puts a rose in every cheek. I'm there at work and I saw that email, happy little Vegemite, and I burst into song. I get so patriotic when I'm talking about Vegemite. It is the greatest thing. I somewhat agree with Martin. Why have a sandwich? I'm like a Vegemite sandwich. I'll go with it.
Vegemite and cheese, man.
But
Put a slice of
Vegemite and cheese is another way you can eat.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
lordy, but there's a bit of tiger toast. Tiger toast for the
Tiger toast,
uninitiated. Vegemite with strips of cheese, so it looks like a
Strips of
tiger.
cheese.
Sure.
But
And
here
then
we
grilled, by
are.
the way. Grilled.
Vegemite. Did you know it's 2023, which means Vegemite celebrates its 100th birthday this year.
Nice.
It was invented in 1922 by
discovered.
Dr. Cyril P. Callister at the
Okay.
Fred Walker Cheese Company, and it hit the shelves in 1923.
He is not reading this off
I didn't
anything.
look that up.
He knows
I
that.
know that because Vegemite is from heaven, and so don't even. But happy little Vegemite over there in Connecticut. Don't worry about sandwich. Don't worry about it. 2 slices in the toaster, white bread. See Hugh Jackman. Anytime I want something Australian represented to the world properly, just go to Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he was on Jimmy Fallon.
Yep.
And he gave some properly made white bread, really cheap, slap it in the toaster, butter, plenty of butter. Margarine, get a good quality margarine if you're going to go down the margarine route, but nothing beats butter. I mean, I'm a vegan these days, so I don't have the butter, but oh boy, put it on there. Not nearly as much Vegemite as you think. See how much Hugh Jackman puts it on. That gives it to Questlove on the drums. On board.
Yep.
Vegemite. Here's the thing about Vegemite, right? There has never been a point in my life where I have not felt like eating Vegemite on toast. You could be sick as a dog. You could be so close to death.
true.
And you don't feel like your favorite foods just turn to ash in your mouth. But Vegemite on toast on a bad stomach, it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's the cure for anything. I am so happy for you. Happy little Vegemite. That's
In
what I
a
say.
subsequent episode, we will argue as to whether Vegemite is kept in the fridge or outside the fridge. Stay tuned for that one.
Yes. Get this ready.
Oof, that got intense.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all our inboxes.
That's all our inboxes. Thank you so
empty.
much,
Yeah.
guys.
Like, put those all in their folders. We keep it nice and neat. in
My
place.
dudes, it's bonkers to me that people around the world are listening to us and have the.
Well, that's how the internet works.
I know I'm a troglodyte, and I'm,
You know, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I still don't get it. You'll have to
Goes
explain
into
it to me
Spain.
again.
Just out of interest, have you added the email address to the ending?
No, I haven't.
And yet that's where we're getting 90% of our
Yeah, right?
correspondence from.
hammerbarnproject@gmail.com. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
But send them on. I'm loving this. This is so good. Thank you. Got each and every one of you rule. Whew, that was a whopper. But we're into it now, guys. We've passed the 50 mark. We've passed the half ton, and now it's just nothing stopping us. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
for
mate.
listening. Thank you, Martin, for all the work you did on this on this episode.
Thank you guys for finally agreeing to do space.
I knew I could just sit there
Yeah.
and just relish.
That was a great episode of the Marty Show, wasn't it?
the Marty Project. Yeah.
He's allowed one every now and then.
Yeah, that's
Every other one is
it's
me.
the Brandon Project. Yeah.
But can I just, before we go, 51st episode,
Yes.
I just wanted to maybe start a new thing because we are so grateful for the team at Ludo and Joe Brum and everyone involved in Bluey that when we say, hey, thanks to the whole team, that's lovely. We're appreciative of the whole team. But hey, we're here every fortnight or so. Let's bark it down and start thanking individual folks.
Who are some of these?
This is a segment that I thought we could
Oh God,
call
it's got a name.
giving credit where credit's blue.
Oh, not bad.
Because the credits are blue. So our first credit where credit's blue goes to, and this is absolutely this is name out of a hat sort of stuff.
Sure.
This is the first name that I picked, no more or less important than anybody else.
Just out of interest, was it from this episode?
It was from this episode.
Good.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Yes, from this episode. Faith Chen is our credit where credit's blue today.
Hooray!
So Faith Chen, thank you so much
Thanks,
for all
Faith.
you do to bring this show to us. We're so grateful.
What's Faith's role on the
Faith,
show?
on this episode, I believe, was a background artist.
Yep.
But they also have been art director on 28 episodes.
Oh.
Art director on 28 episodes, background artist on 76 episodes. So valued member of the team,
Yeah.
valued by them, valued by us, Faith Chan. Thank you so much for what you do.
You are the credit where credit's blue.
You are the inaugural
Yes, in all.
for totally random, but thank you, inaugural credit where credit's blue recipient.
There isn't a certificate. I'm sorry.
Maybe I wouldn't know how to get it to you.
Hey guys,
Ooh.
how good was the everything?
How good was the everything? The
thought I
everything
forgot
was
about
so
that.
good.
Dodged it.
Yeah, you thought you got away with it.
The everything is pretty good.
The everything is pretty good. And you can see everything and more than everything down aisle 2001.
Left at the asteroid.
And if you hit a black hole, don't worry, it doesn't have any aliens.
Neither does Mars.
Created and produced by Frank, Brendan and Marty. You can follow the Hammerbarn Project on facebook.com/HammerbarnProj, at HammerbarnProj on Twitter, or Hammerbarn_project on Instagram. Theme featuring Nibblings, Kaylee, Jade, Ashley and Reese, and PA announcements by brother-in-law, me, Josh. Thanks for listening, and remember to get down to Hammerbarn for cheap shovels.